She tapped the screen and told them to repeat the number. The room didn't shift. No warning. No soft landing. Just the number. Sitting there. Waiting to be said again like it was the punchline to a joke she'd already decided was funny. Someone near the table cleared their throat and said it. $300,000? She laughed. Not loud. Not cruel in an obvious way. More like amused. Like she'd caught a typo on a slide. Then she leaned back in her chair and added, calm as anything, that she could hire 4 people better than me for that amount? 17 partner executives were sitting behind me. Not even our people. The kind you don't embarrass your own team in front of unless you're trying to prove something. No one moved. No one said a word. I swear the only sound in the room was the projector humming, that low electrical buzz you stop noticing until everything else goes quiet. I didn't rush to explain myself, didn't joke it off, didn't try to justify the number. I just stood there, hands loose at my sides, staring at the same screen they were. That was the moment I understood this wasn't about compensation or budgets or alignment. This was about shrinking me until the room felt smaller with me in it. My name is Felicia Ward, 46 years old. I'd walked into that meeting thinking it was a routine check-in, a few slides, a few nods, then back to work. I didn't realize I was there to be used as an example. Not fired, not corrected, just quietly reduced, in front of people whose trust I'd spent years earning. Nobody defended me. Nobody even pretended to be uncomfortable. Chairs stayed still. Pens didn't stop moving. That told me more than the comment itself ever could. I remember thinking, not angrily, just plainly, that this was going to cost them something. Not because I planned anything, just because things like this always do. Near the end of the chapter, before the meeting officially wrapped, something else happened that mattered more than the insult itself. A partner I'd worked with for over a decade looked at me, then at her, then back down at the table. That tiny hesitation stuck with me. It told me the damage wasn't contained to me anymore. Before this story goes any further, one thing needs to be clear. The story you're about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revengeaita. It is inspired by real workplace dynamics, power imbalances, and emotional truths. But the characters, companies, and events are dramatized for storytelling purposes. The meeting ended without ceremony, laptops closed, people stood, small talk tried to restart like nothing had cracked. I picked up my notebook and walked out with everyone else. Already knowing the next chapter wouldn't start in that room, the meeting ended like nothing had happened. Chairs scraped back, laptops snapped shut, someone cracked a joke about traffic. I stayed where I was for a beat too long, then moved with the group. No one slowed down to walk beside me. No one rushed either. That felt intentional. One of the partners caught my eye on the way out. He made a face that tried to be kind and landed somewhere closer to relieved. Not my problem. Not today. He turned his badge so it wouldn't clack against the table and followed the rest of them. In the hallway, my phone buzzed. A message from HR. Short. Careful. Just so you know, leadership approved this. Approved. Like a memo. Like a banner. Like something you put your name on when you don't want to own it later. I typed back 3 words, then erased them, left it on red. That felt like the right amount of response. I walked to my desk, swiped my badge. The green light flashed. Access granted. For a second, that annoyed me more than the meeting. If they were done with me, they could have been honest about it. Keeping the door open felt like a dare. Around me, people worked, fingers on keyboards, low voices. No one looked up, not even the ones who usually did. I sat down and opened my inbox. Nothing urgent from leadership, plenty from clients. I didn't answer any of them. The smell of burnt coffee drifted in from the elevators. Same smell every morning. Today it hit wrong. Sharp and sour, like it was stuck in my throat. I pushed my chair back and stood again. Sitting felt like agreeing. Someone from finance passed by and paused. Not long enough to say anything useful, just long enough to register the damage. He nodded once and kept walking. That was the moment it clicked. Nobody was confused. Nobody was shocked. This wasn't a misstep or a bad joke that got away from them. It had been lined up, rehearsed, timed. People didn't avoid my eyes because they felt bad. They avoided them because they knew exactly what had just been done. I grabbed my notebook, closed my email without saving drafts, and headed for the elevators. The badge worked again, still green, still welcoming. That didn't mean I belonged. It just meant they hadn't decided how much silence they needed from me yet. I opened my inbox and didn't even bother scrolling. 6 threads sat at the top, all marked urgent. Different companies, same tone. Something had gone sideways. The phone lit up again. I let it ring this time. Then again, then voicemail kicked in and I caught the first line as it recorded. Felicia. I know it's late, but late didn't mean anything in my world. Late just meant something was about to break. Nobody called the CEO when a shipment stalled or a deadline slipped. Nobody asked legal to calm a partner down. They called me, always me, because I picked up, because I didn't hide behind process, because I'd already been in the mess with them before. My phone kept vibrating against the desk, walking itself closer to the edge. I didn't grab it. I watched it instead, like it was proving a point for me. I thought about that night years ago when a partner's site went dark right before a delivery window. Midnight, snow coming down hard. I wasn't required to go. I wasn't even asked. I drove anyway. Sat in a folding chair under bad fluorescent lights while they figured it out. Ate chips from a vending machine. Slept in my coat for an hour. Stupid decision. Completely unnecessary. But when that partner renewed every contract the next year, nobody wrote that story down. They just saw the numbers and assumed they'd appear again on their own. Another voicemail came through. We don't know who else to call, a voice said, tight and controlled. Just tell us you're still there. I closed my inbox without answering. Not because I was playing games, because I needed to hear the silence for a second. Needed to understand what they'd actually been leaning on. This is the part people miss. Trust isn't built on strategy decks or quarterly wins. It's built on showing up when it's inconvenient and nobody's watching. On taking calls you don't get credit for. On decisions that look dumb on paper. You don't notice it while you're doing it. Only when someone tries to turn it into a line item. I picked up my phone then. Not to call anyone back, just to feel the weight of it in my hand. That constant buzzing hadn't stopped all morning. It didn't feel like pressure anymore. It felt like evidence. I reread my contract, not fast, not skimming, line by line. Like it might change if I stared long enough. Non-solicit, non-compete, notice period. All the words people use when they want to sound fair while protecting themselves. Nothing in there said I had to stay quiet while someone tried to make me small. Nothing said I had to stay at all. My phone buzzed again. I flipped it face down. I needed 1 clean minute. I could stay, argue my case, walk into her office and list everything I'd held together over the years. I could explain what that number on the screen actually paid for. I could fight, or I could leave clean. I opened a new email, wrote the resignation the long way first. Too many sentences, too polite. It read like I was asking permission. I deleted it, started again. After careful consideration, deleted, effective immediately. That was better. Honest, cold, the kind of sentence that doesn't invite debate. I checked the time before I sent it. 4:17 in the afternoon. I remember because the second hand on the clock skipped instead of sweeping. That felt fitting. I copied HR, legal too. Not out of spite, out of habit. The reply came fast. Not from her, from HR again. Can we discuss I didn't answer? I shut down my computer. Stood up, grabbed my bag, left the notebook on my desk on purpose. They could keep that. I didn't need proof of work anymore. The elevator dinged twice before the doors closed. It always does that. Today it sounded louder, like punctuation. I didn't look back when the doors opened in the lobby. Didn't slow down. Didn't stop to explain myself to anyone I passed. Leaving without a scene felt wrong. My body wanted something louder, something messier. I ignored it and kept walking. By the time I stepped outside, the decision already felt heavier than the anger. Not regret. Weight. The kind that doesn't lift once you commit to carrying it. My phone rang that night while I was standing in the kitchen, staring at nothing. I almost didn't answer. Old habit kicked in before pride could stop it. The voice on the other end didn't waste time. Is it true? No greeting. No small talk. Just that? Yes, that was all I gave him. No context, no explanation. I didn't owe him one, and he didn't ask for it anyway. Silence stretched. Not dead air. The kind where you know other people are listening. Papers shifting, a chair moving, someone breathing too close to the speaker. So you're really gone? He said. Slower now. Careful. Like he was choosing words that couldn't be taken back. I didn't correct him. Didn't soften it. Let the quiet sit there and do its job. We had a call scheduled tomorrow. He added. With your team, not your company. Not your leadership, your team. That landed heavier than he probably meant it to. I won't be on it. Another pause. Longer this time, I could hear a second voice in the background. Low and urgent. He covered the phone for a second. Didn't hang up. When he came back, the tone had shifted. Less polite. More exposed. We'll talk Monday. Not a request. Not a threat. A decision already forming. Okay. The line went dead before I could say anything else. I stood there with the phone still pressed to my ear. Listening to nothing. My hand was shaking. Not fear. Adrenaline. The kind you get right before something irreversible finishes lining itself up. I poured a drink without meaning to. Ice hit the glass too hard. Cracked against the sides. I didn't remember pouring it. Didn't taste it either. Just listened to the ice clink as it settled. Slow and uneven. This is the part nobody prepares you for. The space between action and consequence, where nothing has happened yet, but everything already has. I didn't sleep much. Every time my eyes closed, I heard his voice again. Not angry, not accusing, just recalculating. By the time morning came, I knew something had started moving. Not because I wanted it to, because once trust shifts, it doesn't wait for permission. By 10 in the morning, 9 contracts were gone. I didn't hear it from leadership. I heard it from the people who still thought I was inside the building. Emails forwarded with a quick sorry attached. Screenshots cropped tight so names didn't show. Subject lines did all the talking. Termination, effective immediately. Transition notice. Someone wrote, "Did you see this like I could fix it?" Inside the company, everything tilted at once. A calendar invite slid across my screen from an old teammate. Emergency call. War room. Mandatory. The invite disappeared a minute later, replaced by another one, then another. They were moving fast now. Too fast. My phone lit up. The first call I let ring, the second one too. The third left a message that tried to sound calm and failed. "We're just trying to understand what's happening." The voice said, "If you know anything, now would be a good time." I knew exactly what was happening. I also knew I hadn't done anything wrong. Another message came in from finance. Not a greeting. A file. A list of accounts highlighted in red. 9 names. All familiar. All mine. Once. Slack notifications started popping up on my phone, even though I'd logged out. Someone must have pulled an old screenshot. My avatar was still there, frozen mid-smile, next to a thread titled Client Risk Assessment. I stared at it longer than I should have. The calls kept coming. Different numbers, different tones. One tried urgency, one tried friendliness, one tried authority and landed on panic instead. "We need you to pick up." A text read, "This is getting serious." I didn't reply. This is the thing about confidence. It holds as long as numbers behave. The second they don't, it evaporates. All that certainty from last week vanished the moment the losses became measurable. I set my phone face down on the table and walked away from it. Not out of spite, out of necessity. Whatever they were scrambling to build now, it wasn't mine to hold together anymore. It didn't stop after Monday. It just slowed down enough to feel deliberate. A contract here. Another one 2 days later. Then 2 more before the week ended. No announcements. No coordinated exit. Just quiet withdrawals. Like people slipping out of a room once they realize the conversation isn't worth staying for. By the end of 16 days, 51% of the company's revenue was gone. That number came to me through a spreadsheet I wasn't supposed to have. A former analyst sent it with no message attached, just the file. The red cells did all the talking. Legal reached out the same afternoon. Certified letter. Very official. Very careful. The language accused me of influencing clients indirectly, a softer way of saying sabotage without having to prove it. My lawyer read it once. Then again, slower the second time. He didn't look up when he spoke. You didn't contact anyone. No, not one call, not one email, nothing. He nodded and typed a single sentence. That was the response. No emotion. No defense strategy. Just the truth, stripped of decoration. The printer hummed while the letter came out. Louder than it needed to be. I stood there and watched it feed through, page by page, like the machine was stalling on purpose. They were blaming me because they needed someone solid to push against. Something heavier than market conditions or bad leadership. Gravity is uncomfortable to accept. Easier to point at the person who stepped away and pretend they pulled the building down with them. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel guilty either. Mostly I felt tired. The kind of tired that comes from watching something collapse in slow motion when you already know the ending. Messages kept coming in from people still inside. Updates. Panic wrapped in professionalism. I didn't respond to any of them. Once you let go. You can't pretend you're still holding the weight just because everyone else is scrambling underneath it. She called late in the afternoon. Not through an assistant. Not through legal. Her number showed up plain on the screen, like we were still on casual terms. I answered. There was no laugh this time. No opening line meant to soften anything. Just breathing. Shallow. A little uneven. We should talk, she said. Not commanding, not friendly. Careful. I waited. Let the silence stretch until it stopped feeling polite. We can revisit compensation. She added. The words came out rehearsed. Like she'd practiced them in front of a mirror that didn't talk back. There's room to adjust. Still no apology. Not even a placeholder version. No acknowledgement of the meeting. No mention of the screen. Just money. Pushed forward like it could patch over everything underneath. I pictured her office without trying to. The desk. The phone pressed too close to her face. The confidence that used to sit comfortably in her voice now replaced by something thinner. You moved fast, she said. Almost accusing. Clients are reacting. I didn't argue that. I didn't confirm it either. What do you want? I asked. Another pause. This one longer. I could hear papers shifting. Someone else was in the room with her. I recognized that sound. Back up. We need stability, she said finally. Right now. There it was. Not me. Not trust. Stability. The bleeding had started showing through the bandages. I'm not coming back. I said, calm, no edge, just the fact. Her breath caught just slightly, like she'd expected resistance. Negotiation. Something she could lean against. You don't have to decide today, she said. Quickly. Too quickly. We can structure this. I let that sit there. Didn't fill the space. Didn't help her out. She hadn't called to make things right. She'd called because the numbers had stopped behaving and she needed someone familiar to put them back in line. When the call ended, she didn't say goodbye. Neither did I. I set the phone down and noticed my hand wasn't shaking anymore. Whatever power she thought that offer carried had already expired. I didn't hear it from her. I heard it from someone 2 layers down. A person who used to schedule meetings and now forwarded things with shaky hands. No subject line. Just a sentence dropped into the body of an email. She's out. Board decision. No explanation. No announcement. Quiet. The way they handle anything they don't want, traced back to intent. After that, the company got smaller in pieces. A department folded. Then another. Clients didn't come back. They didn't need to make a point. The place lost its shape first. Then its confidence. A few months later, it sold for a fraction of what it had been worth. Different logo, same walls. New people pretending nothing happened there. Nobody said my name in public. Nobody blamed me. Nobody defended her either. The story moved through the industry without attaching itself to any one person. That's how these things survive. Vague enough to repeat, clean enough to forget. One last message came through a few weeks later. Not from leadership, from someone in operations I used to trust. We're trying to transition accounts smoothly. Any guidance would help. I read it once. Left it there. Didn't reply, didn't delete it either. Just let it sit. The unread badge stayed on my phone longer than it should have. Weeks. Every time I saw it, I felt the pull to be useful again. To fix something, to make myself necessary. Old reflex. I ignored it. Silence did more work than any explanation I could have offered. It didn't argue. It didn't negotiate. It didn't soften itself to make anyone comfortable. I wasn't punishing anyone by staying quiet. I was protecting the part of myself that used to rush in when things broke. Even after being told I was replaceable, by the time the message disappeared under newer ones, the company was already gone in every way that mattered. And I was done proving that absence can speak louder than defense. Sometimes the meeting comes back to me without warning. Not the whole thing. Just the screen. The number sitting there. The way she said it like it was settled, like the math had already decided who I was, she'd sounded sure. That's what sticks. Not loud, not angry. Certain. I didn't win because I proved her wrong. I didn't win because clients left or because the board made a quiet decision later. None of that felt like winning when it happened. I won because I left, and I didn't undo it. There were days I almost did. Days when my phone buzzed with another update, another collapse, another person asking if I could step in just to stabilize things. The words were always the same. Temporary, advisory, clean exit. They never said the part where I'd have to swallow myself again. Once, I typed out a reply. 3 sentences. Professional. Helpful. I stared at it long enough for the screen to dim, then deleted the whole thing. My hands didn't shake when I did it. That surprised me. The office I work in now is quiet. Not impressive. Not buzzing. Just quiet. The kind where nobody's waiting for me to fix something they refuse to protect. I sit down, do my work, leave when the day ends. No emergencies built on disrespect. I think about what would have happened if I'd gone back. If I'd let the number be redefined, let the room decide my worth, let the apology be replaced by an offer. I don't feel angry anymore when I think about it. Just clear. Here's the lesson I took with me. The only one that stuck. If someone shows you they can reduce you to a line item in public, believe them the first time. Don't stay to negotiate your dignity. Leaving doesn't make you weak. Staying after that makes you disappear. I didn't go back. That choice stayed mine, and nothing they offered afterward could buy it back.